Hey guys, Hayden here again from Alarm System Store, and today we are going to be messing with the IQ Pro system. If you saw our previous video, you'll know that we are now carrying the IQ Pro from DSC and Qolsys. I came in here to mess with this and kind of get familiar with it, but I thought it would be more fun to actually have you guys just experience this first time through with me. So hopefully nothing goes wrong, but essentially I have the transformer hooked up and I have a keypad wired up, and that was where I stopped because I decided I was going to record this. And the only other things we're going to hook up are a zone expander and a wireless door contact. I might grab a wired door contact as well. I don't think that'll be very different. I mean, essentially it's just a zone, so. But I decided that we were just going to go through this together, so you guys are going to get my first reaction to the system as well. It is programmed using the IQ installer interface, which is an app on your phone. You can download it on Google or Apple, whatever the Apple App Store is called. I'm not familiar with iPhones, but essentially it's on both. So you just download the app, you basically connect to the system using Wi-Fi directly from the system to your phone. So it's just a local Wi-Fi connection right there. And once that's connected, you basically just go in, you program it with your phone. I'm just gonna get all this set up. I'll put a screen recording of my phone up there so you guys can see what I'm doing there, and we'll just get started. All right, so here I have the app pulled up. I'm gonna go ahead and hook up the transformer, get power to the system. We might have a trouble on the keypad. A lot of DSC systems do that right off the bat, but essentially once this powers up, we're just going to connect the phone to the system, and then we'll start programming. I was curious whenever we got this in if this system is actually programmable using a keypad, and it doesn't look like it because the first thing I'm getting right off the bat is a panel response not received. So what that means is there's the fault. Clear that and that'll relax, and since we're getting, no enroll option on the keypad, it looks like it does have to be done through the app, so we'll go ahead and get that started. All right, so as you can see, you just click the start button right there, and then you can type in the serial number and the IMEI, or you can just scan the QR code, so that's what I'm gonna do. It's right there on this front cover. We'll probably be taking that off here in a minute because the wiring terminals, if you have a short screwdriver like I do, it kind of wants to push you out of the way and the screwdriver can't really get down in there. So I'm going to take that off so I have a little bit easier access to it. But anyway, on the phone app, once it's pulled up your serial and IMEI, you just click continue and press and hold the pairing button for 1 second. So over here, it's kind of hard to show you guys, but there's basically a little white prong that you push in. So you hold that for 1 second. It says until it flashes blue, but it's flashing red at the moment. Okay, so 1 Mississippi. All right, well, it's flashing red. Maybe I gotta continue on the app. Okay, so it's looking like it's... is that it? Let's find out. So anyways, you saw there, basically whenever you continue, it did make me turn my location on whenever I open the app, so I'm not sure why it requires that, but once you do that, there at the bottom, it basically just showed the system that is available to connect to, which means that the IQ Pro is sending out that Wi-Fi signal so that your phone can pick it up. It says enter your access code. I'm assuming it wants the installer or dealer code to start with. So those should be the same as the Qolsys, which is going to be 2222. Okay, so right off the bat, it asks if you want to... oh, it makes you change your installer, or well, the dealer code. Whichever code you enter, it's going to make you change that code. So we'll just make that the DSC default, 5555. Make it simple. All right, so welcome. Okay, so first off, it's going to want you to connect your Wi-Fi to the system. So that is your actual home Wi-Fi. So I have the IQ Wi-Fi right here. Let me enter the password. All right, so I got the password plugged in. So we're just going to click connect there. So what this is going to do is it's just going to try and get the IQ Pro to connect to the router over there. And that is one of the first things that the Qolsys system has you do as well. So for the most part, it seems to be following kind of the Qolsys programming, which is good because the Qolsys programming is much easier than the DSC. DSC is not hard, it's just kind of old school. Qolsys is much more modern. So connecting Wi-Fi. Okay, so it's basically asking if I want to connect my phone, the app, to that Wi-Fi as well. So if you were an installer doing this for somebody else, you would want to make sure that you disconnected your Wi-Fi and forgot it and all that. That way you don't have access to somebody else's Wi-Fi. But I'm actually going to not do that. I should still be able to control the system. So yeah, as it says right there, click and connect me will connect your phone to the same network, allowing you to increase your range. So if you were an installer and you were wandering around somebody's house, enrolling sensors or whatever you might be doing, it probably would be a good idea to connect the app to customer's connection. However, since I'm literally a foot away from it, I'm not going to do that. So we're just going to go to the next step here. So up at the top, you'll see these two little arrows. Just click the right. So next step is same as with the Qolsys. It's just going to go through and it's going to do a system check. Now, one thing you guys need to keep in mind, we get a lot of questions about this on Qolsys as well, but you can see that last option there where it says download configuration. Basically, that is if you are an Alarm.com existing customer and you are replacing your panel. That download configuration will almost always fail if you don't have an Alarm.com account that's already created and connected to a system, because what that does is if you swap systems, it basically transfers all the programming from your old system to your new one. So that will fail. Unfortunately, you do have to kind of wait for it to do that, but maybe I can just go past it. Everything else is good. Nope. All right, well, I'm going to speed through this just a little bit because it's going to take a minute to realize that there's nothing to connect to. So I will be right back in a second. Okay, so I got past the download configuration. It took a minute, but basically it just failed. And then I clicked the right arrow at the top again. And now we are into the security page. So this is where you can actually set up the zones that you have connected to your system. So essentially it's going to look very different than like a standard hardwired system. You're not going to go through and select each zone as a zone. Basically what you'll see is where it says core bus module up there at the top, it's talking about this main board that's in the system. And each of the panel inputs are a different zone. So panel input 1 is zone 1 on here, but it's slot 2 on the iQ Pro because slot 1 is that main board. So that is very akin to like using a hardwired translator with the Qolsys. So basically, each zone expander is a zone, and then each of the zones on that are a different slot number. So zone 1 on here is, like I said, panel input 1, which is slot 2. So if we had a hardwired sensor hooked up, which I might do here in a minute, but for now we're just going to skip this. I do want to check and see how to make sure that zone expander connects, however. So how do we do that? So it's not under there, so I'm just going to click plus, select add. Let's try the auto learn. So this should be able to, okay, yeah, so it immediately picked up the zone expander and it picked up the keypad as well. So that made it really easy actually. Okay, so the keypad went crazy there for a minute, but basically it was just beeping for all of the zones that were enrolling. So now that the expander is enrolled, we have 8 additional zones, and you can see those on the app here. So it added the zone expander, it added input slot 11, which is going to be zone 1 on the zone expander, and each of those inputs is going to be enrolled individually like this, and then it does have the keypad. So this is an RF keypad. I did wonder if this would work. It seems like it is going to. So we might have to go through here and actually set up each device. Let's see what we can change here. So sensor ID, it's keypad, fixed intrusion, that's fine. So if you have the tamper active on your keypads, there's a little toggle for that. You can decide whether or not the backlight is on or off. Keypad input, not sure what that one stands for. It's probably a good idea to read the manual. I kind of skimmed it, did not go in depth on it. I thought this would be more entertaining, but so if it's a voice keypad, voice prompts are on. Bypass is enabled for this keypad, which is fine. Okay, so I don't think we really have to do anything with it. Basically, it's pretty much set up by default. We just have to go in and save those settings so it shows configured. So let's go back up to the zone expander real quick. Similar screen, sensor ID, it's a translator, it's a hardwired module. It is interesting that it considers them takeover modules, but that's all right. It's probably just using the Qolsys lingo because it is mainly an IQ system. All right, so same sort of thing here. There's not much else you need to do. You can name the zone expander if you want. I'm not going to bother with all that right now. And then if you need to, you can go in and you can set up each of your zones. So like I said, expander 1, which is this expander, input 1, slot 11, is going to be input 1 on this zone expander. So don't really pay attention to the slot number. That is the total zone number on the IQ Pro. So you can have up to 128 zones. So up to 128 slots, essentially. So don't really pay attention to the slots, just pay attention to the expander number and then the input number, because that is basically saying this expander, zone 1, zone 2, so on and so forth. Anyway, if we were going to set one of those up, let's see what options we have. So it shows the same ID as the expander there. All right, so first thing, sensor type. So you can select whether it is any of these types of sensors. So you got your standard door, motion, glass break, key fobs, auxiliary pendants, smoke, CO, heat, water, shock, doorbell. Now that's interesting. I wonder what that implies. I'll have to look that one up. I might have to get back to you guys on that one. Occupancy sensor, that's for like medical related stuff. Temperature and tamper. So we don't really need to mess with it. We'll just pretend this is a door contact. So under expander name, you can change the name. Under sensor group is how you decide how it's going to act, basically whether it has a delay or whether it's an instant sensor, so on and so forth. I'll just set that with a normal entry-exit delay. It's fine. So you can do voice prompts, and the voice prompts, they will not work with these DSC keypads unless you have a voice DSC keypad. Those are now discontinued because nobody ever bought any, but essentially, if you have a voice DSC keypad, you can get voice prompts out of it, and the IQ Remote Power G, which is unfortunately the keypad I didn't have that I wanted to enroll, but that is able to announce voice prompts and stuff like that. So the IQ Remote is the ideal keypad to use with this system, but they are more expensive than, the standard DSC hardwired keypads. So but anyway, you can select the chime type, cross zone, we don't need that. Bypass is enabled, that's fine. Sensor input, so global. Okay, so under sensor input, sorry, if you're doing hardwired zones, you'll know that you have to either designate it as a normally closed, normally open, single end of line, or double end of line sensor. It appears the global option here that's showing for us is basically it's going to follow what you set the main panel as. So that first module, the main board here, whatever you set that at, that global setting should follow that, if I'm understanding this correctly. So we'll just leave that on global. You save it, and that would be how you configure each individual zone for hardwired zones. So, since we already do have the auto-enroll pulled up here, I'm going to go ahead and power up this door contact. So give me just 1 second, I'll be right back. All right, so I got the battery in here. So as with all normal Power G contacts, there is an enroll button for these. I'm just gonna hold that down. You'll see a yellow light flash, and then you release the button. So hold that down, yellow light. All right, so it showed up here, 1014197. So check your ID number on the sensor, make sure the right one is being enrolled. That is correct. So I'm gonna click add. And there at the bottom. So somehow right after I had enrolled that wireless contact that you guys just saw me do, I lost the footage following that of my first take of this shoot. So I'm coming back. It's been a couple days. I'm a little congested. Sorry for the weak voice, but essentially I'm reconnecting to the Qolsys panel, and after I got that wireless contact enrolled, there wasn't a whole lot more that I could really show you guys. It did pop up and basically show the zone screen for that wireless contact. So it follows the same procedure that we used when we were looking at the other zones. Basically, you set the zone type. You can name it, you know, set what partition it's on if you're using partitions, blah, blah, blah. That whole bit. They're very similar. The only thing you got to make sure of is that whenever you enroll a wireless contact, just make sure the ID matches up like I did right there at the end before it cut off. But essentially what I thought I'd do now is basically just show you guys what the main menu looks like of the app once you get through that installer wizard that we were going through, because the very last step for that was basically after I had enrolled that wireless contact, I set up the zone. You know, I just set it up as a normal entry door, and that was actually the last step of the actual install wizard. So right after that, we were technically done with, you know, your beginning programming. You can go back in and edit other things. So what I'm going to do is basically just start up the phone recording, and I'm going to show you guys basically what you get whenever you get to that menu, because it's kind of like a dashboard. You guys will see it in just a second once this is done, so I'll be right back. We're back up now. Basically, this is your dashboard of the iQ installer app. So right there, at the, it's asking me to connect the Wi-Fi again. It really wants me to do that. However, I'm not going to. So anyway, moving on. Right there at the top, you guys can see it just shows basic panel info. So even though it looks like a touch screen there, it's basically referring to the iQ Pro. You can see it right there below it. And the symbols right next to it, the first one is a Wi-Fi symbol. It just tells you if you have a good Wi-Fi signal or not, or it would show an X if you weren't connected to Wi-Fi. The 2 bars next to it, the 2 green and 3 yellow, that's for cell signal. That one should be pretty obvious. The plug-in for the wall, that would be transformer or AC power. Basically, that just means that I have the transformer plugged in properly and the system is getting good AC input power. The last indicator there is the battery. I don't have a battery put in here just because we don't need one for what we're doing today. So if you had a battery there, it would show probably just that green, and it would show it fully charged. I'm sure. I am curious to know if it actually shows if the battery is below charge, like considering it has like a battery there with like different notches in it. But anyway, something to test in the future. Below that, you guys can see basically the devices that you have hooked up to the system. So for Power G devices, we have the 1 door contact that we hooked up. So that is showing red on a blue bar. So below that, you guys can see there's a blue 19 and a red 3. And what's neat about this, I did just click on this to find this out, but if you click the blue, or if you click on the line itself, it shows you which 3 modules are actually the red 3. So the core bus module, which is the main board, you have the tamper for the main cabinet, which is this little metal, I don't know, lever right here. Whenever you put the cover on, it pushes the lever down, shows the tamper's cleared. And then the zone expander board itself, since we didn't have any hardwired zones actually hooked up. And then if you want to, you can click on the Wi-Fi there and it'll show any Wi-Fi devices that you have on your system. So like the IQ remote or the IQ Wi-Fi work well with this system. The IQ remote, they do now have, you know, the Power G option, which lets you connect via Power G. However, the way it always used to work was it was a Wi-Fi device. So it still has that capability. So you can hook up your IQ remotes via Wi-Fi if you have stronger Wi-Fi signal. I'm not sure what auto would be. That might actually be referring to... actually, I'm not even going to touch on that because I am unsure. So I will find out and I'll cover that in a future video. But if we go over here to the left, down here at the bottom, you can see the menu options. All the way to the left is the events option. And basically that just shows all of the events that have happened on the system. So if we go back through, it'll show where I tampered and untampered the little lever right there. It'll show when we enrolled different devices, so on and so forth. And anytime a sensor would be activated or triggered, it would show up here as well. So that's basically your event buffer if you're familiar with DSC, or if you're familiar with Qolsys, it's basically just a list of events that happened on your system. The second option there is configuration. So that allows you to go into the programming to go more in depth. You can change like delay times for your zones, for your entry zones. You can adjust user management. Since we are using the dealer code, we can set up dealer branding. We can change that kind of stuff. And this is where all of the main options for programming would be located. If you did need to add any other sensors or change any specific settings, so on and so forth, you would do that under the configuration tab. The middle tab just brings you back to the dashboard. The right tab, the first one on the right, is the tests tab. So you can check out the Wi-Fi test, cellular test, all of the plugged in modules that you have, which I don't know if you guys can see it here, but there's 3 cards here. This one's the Power G card. I believe the cell and Wi-Fi are kind of built into the main board, but all the daughter cards that you have are going to have a test that you can run for them to make sure that they're enrolled properly and they're actually responding to the panel as they should. And you can actually go through and test like Power G sensors and stuff like that. And then the last option is just the settings. So that would be settings for the app. So you can change the language, you can change the theme, you can change the temperature scale if you prefer Celsius, so on and so forth. Simple things. But essentially, if you did ever want to just run the install wizard again, if you go back to the dashboard, up here at the top right, you'll see a little wand with the stars next to it. If you click on that, it basically opens up that launch wizard again, which is what we went through in the first part of this video. So that is the IQ Pro in a nutshell. Like I said, we'll go back and we'll go over a lot more of these modules more in depth. Like we'll probably hook up different keypads, we'll hook up probably different modules such as like power supplies, like the HSM 2204. It has outputs that you can set up. Oh, and if you do need PGM programming, that would also be in the configuration section. We'll go over essentially how to do all the different things on the IQ Pro at some point as time allows. For this video, I kind of just wanted to jump into it myself and see how simple it was. And you guys saw there's literally 3 major steps to setting up an IQ Pro. You install it, you hook up the app, and then you run the wizard, and that's literally it. The wizard walks you through most of it, as you guys saw. The only difficult part might be understanding the hardwired aspect of this, because it does, like I was saying, it does list the main board as well as the zone expanders as like they have their own ID, like they're their own zone essentially, but they're really not. It enrolls them as a device, and then the inputs are the zones. So that can be a little confusing for anybody that's never seen it before, but hopefully what I was saying earlier cleared that up. And if you guys have any questions or you want to check out the IQ Pro, head on over to alarmsystemstore.com. This is the model we currently have on display. We can get other models though. There are models that include different SRF wireless cards. So if you have legacy wireless, such as like the older DSC wireless, Honeywell's 5800 series, Qolsys S-line sensors, 2 gig, Interlogics, all the different major wireless brands out there. There are daughter cards that you can get put in these. However, just know that if you do need one of those panels, it's going to be special order and it's going to have the price increase to match whatever it is that you're adding to it. And the only other thing I wanted to mention was this IQ Pro does come with the option of a metal cabinet. There is a slight price increase for the metal cabinet because it's a custom metal cabinet to my understanding. We've only seen the plastic one so far, but it doesn't look like any of the other metal cabinets that have come with DSC systems before, so I'm assuming it's a pretty custom job. There's not really much else to say in terms of just how to set up an IQ Pro. It seems incredibly simple to me. Over time I'll play with it more and I'll let you guys know if I run into any issues whatsoever. Like I said, we'll cover other modules and stuff, but for now you guys have basically seen everything I've seen. It's very straightforward. You just follow the app's instructions and set it up according to how you want your system to act. So if you got any questions or you want to check it out, like I said, head over to alarmsystemstore.com. Otherwise, that's going to do it for me. You guys have a good one, and I will catch you guys on the next one.